Well, the cynical side of me will admit that today's Mother's Day, and I'll recognize that this is not a church holiday. This is a holiday that was dreamed up by the Hallmark Corporation so they could sell a few more cards, get people to buy flowers, and they have largely succeeded in that. I know that, but I think that the reason they've succeeded is not because they marketed it particularly well. They succeeded because the need for us to honor our mothers, it resonates deeply with us. I know that when I was growing up on Mother's Day, we had our traditions. We woke up and made my mom breakfast in bed and let her relax and enjoy the entire day and just kind of tried to be on our very, very best behavior. It's a time we just sort of instinctively know it is good, it's proper for us not just to honor our mothers and fathers like we do every other day, but to really recognize our mothers as the blessings that they are. Now, I don't throw that word blessing out lightly, because I do believe that mothers are a blessing. They aren't just nice people that take good care of us. They are gifts. They're gifts that God has given to us especially. They are people that take on a very, very difficult job. They have to care for the people in this world who are the most needy, the most vulnerable, and the most aggravating on the planet. But they also take on that task, that role with the kind of joy that you could only find in someone who has seen that job as a true calling, as a blessing in and of itself. I know that one of the most profound spiritual moments of my entire life was when my daughter Rachel was born, and then 4 years later when my son Tyler was born. I could write sermons about just what those experiences meant and what they taught me about God. But you don't want to hear about that today. It's Mother's Day. And so what I did was I sat down with 5 moms who are just all over the map. Moms who have babies in the house and moms whose babies have babies. And I asked them 2 questions. I asked them what their faith has taught them about being a mom. And then I also asked them what motherhood has taught them about God. That's all the question that I asked them, and they told me some really remarkable stories. And I'd like to share those all with you this morning. The first person that we'll hear from really reiterated to me what I had already discovered, that even though you feel like there are things that you've got to teach these kids, they end up teaching you something that is so valuable, so precious. I'd like to share with you just a few of these words of Scripture from the 18th chapter of Matthew. It is written, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a child, whom he put among them, and said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever becomes humble like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven."
My name is Betsy Enerson, and I have 3 wonderful daughters. Michaela is 8, and Karina is 6, and then Alyssa here is 6.5 months.
6.5 months?
6.5 months.
She's getting big.
She is. And I have lots of nieces and nephews. You always think the parents are the ones that are teaching, and you're there to teach the kids. And then I find I get just as much from the kids of seeing their magic and their wonder of God and in everyday life. One of the girls was learning about butterflies at school and of how it goes from the caterpillar to the chrysalis to the butterfly. And they were like, "Well, how does it do that?" And the other one said, "It's magic. It's God's magic." It's just like, that's right. And just to being able to see that magic and beauty in the world that God does, and to see it through their eyes, and just how they simplify things and just say, "Well, it's just God's way, Mom." It's like, oh, that's it. It doesn't need to be complicated. It's God's way. Or we were doing something the other day, and I was like, oh, I had forgotten to do something. They said, "Oh, you know what? That's okay. God knows." And it's just like, oh, wow. we have cousin camp every year, and the kids, we have an unbirthday party, and the kids make something for one of the cousins. And Karina had gotten a painted rock, and to her it was just the most magical thing ever, and it has become our prayer rock of our family. It sits on our kitchen table, and Samantha had painted it for her. It's just a plain rock painted brown, and now at dinner, right before we eat, we say our prayer, and then everyone passes the prayer rock around and say what they're thankful for the day. And so then Karina made prayer rocks for all the families, all of our extended families, at Christmas time. And it's just, you know, those simple things, and, you know, one way of sharing God with others. And it's, you know, something that you can just hope those little things make a difference, and of knowing that they can always look to God. Moms are wonderful, and the wonderful miracle of being a mom, and of being able to share that with like my mom, and knowing that Alyssa was the 10th grandchild, and that my mom was with us when she was born, that just made it even more special. It was just like, wow, of just seeing God's miracle being passed down from generation, and of being able to share that